àtọ́gbẹ́ ìwọ̀n ẹ̀wà àwọn ìgbéyọ̀. Gbajúmọ̀ ọba àtọ́pẹ́. Gbajúmọ̀ ọba àtọ́pẹ́ yìí.
Certainly the best.
It's another beautiful, wonderful, and fresh Monday. And not just a Monday, it's the first Monday of the year 2026. And you're live on this morning on ITV show on Independence Television, where of course we get to delve into all of the issues that have been trending in our social spaces. Everything politics, we get to talk about it on the program. I am Chukufumnanya Digwe. I'm here in our Benin Network Center. Of course, we do this across 3 network centers, Benin, Abuja, and Lagos. Here with me is Dr. Sonny Duke Okosun this wonderful morning. It's so great to be on here with you. A wonderful morning to you, Dr. Sonny.
Good morning, Chukufumnanya. It's always a delight to be with you on TMI every Monday. Like we said, it's a brand new year, brand new Monday, because it's the first one for the year 2026. I know this is the time a lot of people want to do their New Year resolution, but this is not time for resolution. This is actually the time to implement what you've resolved to do, which means before 2025 ended, you should have resolved what you wanted to do. But I think there's a twist to that conversation, which has to do with the fact that people should be working with revelation, not resolution, because sometimes some of these resolutions, they are just empty, no substance. But when you work with revelation, which means new knowledge, new information to work with in the new year, it helps you to plan your year, structure the year in such a way that at the end of the day, at every point of measurement, at every stage of measurement, maybe by January ending, February ending, or the first quarter of the year, you look back and say, okay, I've achieved this, I've achieved that. This is my own perspectives on this.
Okay, so as you said, New Year revelations and not just
New Year resolution.
New Year resolutions.
Yes.
I'll hold on to that.
Okay.
All right, so just to move forward in the program this morning, we have my colleague in other network centers. Of course, Patricia Gabriels is standing by. You get to meet her later on. Also, Tolulokme Ogunsimei is also standing by in our Abuja Network Center, and you get to meet him later on. Now, there's been a lot of conversation in the political, social space, not just here in Nigeria, but also internationally. You know, we've come and woken up to see the capture of the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, by the U.S. President Donald Trump. And there's been a lot of conversation about it recently, not just conversation, people tying this capture with the U.S. strike on 25th of December in Nigeria here. They're saying, is it just the U.S. interest, or now is it geopolitical and regional strategy? Yes, there's a lot of conversation about this, and we're going to delve into this on the show. Dr. Sonny.
Yeah, interesting conversation we're seeing both on at the regional level, international level, and of course with the global stage, particularly on the case of Nicolas Maduro, the Venezuelan president. When you look at the storyline, you understand that at some point it became a major security threat to the U.S., and that's what led to what we have seen. Venezuela is just about 30 minutes away from the U.S., and over a period of time, you look at the history of that country, one of the countries with the highest quantity of crude oil
Yes,
in the world.
is a top on the list.
And apart from crude oil, other natural resources. For a lot of people, this capture of Maduro is tangential to the issue of the resources in Venezuela. But it's beyond that. What we are seeing global politics at play. We are seeing global economy at play. We are seeing all of the vested interests. And if you look at the history of Venezuela, they have what you call thick crude oil, which is very difficult to process. At the initial stage of their history, the US was very supportive, encouraged them, and they gave all the technical know-how for them to be able to process their oil. And before you know what's happening, money started coming in. And you know, most times money reveals the true character of a man. Of course, there was a certain Hugo Chavez who nominated him as his as his successor. When Chavez was dying due to cancer, he nominated Maduro to be his successor. That's how he came. But eventually when he came, many of those things that were on the ground, which of course started during Hugo Chavez's tenure, they started reversing them. First and foremost, Chavez nationalized all the oil companies and all of that in Venezuela. So that created a lot of friction. And with all of these issues, and then of course the economic sanctions against them, they went into the economy nosedive. Things, you know, went from bad to worse. In order to survive, Maduro started getting himself involved in some of these drug issues,
narco-terrorism,
and all of those kind of stuff, which America didn't quite like. And I remember during Donald Trump's first tenure, he was very critical of Maduro, but fortunately he lost his second bid, and then the Democrats under Joe Biden didn't really help matters. And so that gave him the courage, the boldness to start doing the things he was doing. And then he started creating alliances with China, Russia, Cuba, and these are, you know, lifetime enemies of the US. And Trump came on board and said, look, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. In any case, by the time the economy nosedived, the people of Venezuela, Venezuelans were the people who were worst hit by the, you know, the bad state of the economy. And of course, we've seen where all that has left to. We've seen inflation at its highest level, no resources, no means of survival. Well, people tying into what's happening in Nigeria, yeah, it's what you call the illusion of casualty. People just, you know, create things and then synergize them together, put them together.
So you feel like there's no relation because
because the basis of those actions, they are quite different. The circumstances of the strike, they are quite different. In Nigeria, we're talking about terrorism at the highest peak.
But one of Donald Trump's reasons and the U.S., a section of the U.S. government's reasons for the Operation Absolute Resolve in Venezuela is narco-terrorism. The same way Trump came out to say Nigeria is a country of particular concern and the banditry is terrorist act. So, and now also people tying it to Trump wanting to harness the resources of Venezuela is kind of the same way, you know, here in Nigeria and the U.S. involvement.
I would differ on that. Narco-terrorism and this, if you look at the situation in Nigeria, the circumstances that led to the designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern is the allegations of genocide against Christians, the mass slaughtering of Christians, all right? In the case of Venezuela, it's a little bit different because you look at the proximity of Venezuela and U.S., 30 minutes difference. And from the very beginning, the administration of Trump came out to say, Venezuela is a security threat to us. And then they warned China, warned Russia to stay clear. And that's why they've gone ahead to do what they did right now.
All right, Dr. Sonny Duke, before we continue, Lagos Network Center, Patricia Gabriels is over there standing by to join us in this conversation. A happy new year to you, Patricia. So good to see you for the first time this year. How's it in Lagos? It seems we don't have so much sound coming from the Lagos Network Center. That's a technical glitch that will be resolved in due time. So, Dr. Sunny, we were talking about
the difference.
The difference,
Yeah.
or tying it, as I would like to.
Yeah. People can tie whatever they want to tie, but they are not the same thing. In Nigeria, we're talking about allegations of genocide against Christians in the north. And in Venezuela, we're talking about a leadership that has failed. A leadership.
Now, let me tell you the link
yeah.
that people are drawing.
Yeah.
It's the U.S. interest.
Yeah, the
The
U.S.
crude
interest we're talking
oil,
about.
the harnessing of our natural resources.
If the strike in Nigeria was in the Niger Delta, that explains that.
Okay.
But the strike in Nigeria was against terrorist hideouts. These terrorist activities have been going on for years. What has the government done? They're doing their best, but we haven't seen the result of those efforts that government has been making in decimating these terrorists. And now for the first time, you've seen that with the strike by the US, the Nigerian armed forces and the government seems to have woken up. Even those who were sympathetic towards the cause of terrorists, they are now crying. They post every day, oh, let's negotiate with them. You know, these are just bad boys who are hungry. Let's give them what they want. And that has fueled, emboldened these people because they have mouthpiece. They have spokesmen who are highly placed individuals. All right? Now, Sheikh Gumi is one of them. And that's why people are describing him to be one of them. He said recently that a highly placed person in government told him that the US has listed him as one of their targets. And this is where the problem is. Who is that highly placed person in government that gave him that information? And I heard yesterday that some of the comments and statements he's been posting on social media is deleting them, but it's too late. It's too late.
Because digital footprint.
It's damn too late. And it's not just him. There are a lot of people in Nigeria, highly placed individuals, who are sympathetic to the cause of these people, who compromise the system, who give information to these people. And that's what they're able to do. Are you not surprised that the army will prepare to go for an operation? They are ambushed. How did the militant terrorists know they were going to pass through that route if you don't have insider connection? And you have a lot of these people who are being recruited into these security agents. Their primary jobs and responsibility is to be strategically placed where they can have access to information that is sent out. So this is where the challenge is. And now Donald Trump has taken the lead. Nigeria is following. Every day you're hearing of attacks, you're hearing of killings and stuff like that. But has it stopped the killings of Christians? No, it hasn't. But it's a reflection of the fact that the country has woken up to its responsibility. Because the primary aim of government is to provide security and welfare. Any government that is not able to do that
just to
has
say,
failed.
even if there is no sensible connection between the two, talking about the U.S. strike in Venezuela and Nigeria,
Yeah.
it's kind of made them shake in their boots a little bit, you
Yeah.
know, kind of made them, I'm talking about the Nigerian government also, and those that have been accused of being involved in these terrorist
financiers,
acts.
they are there. They are there. You know, I was reading something yesterday. Someone said the present chief of staff to Mr. President has access to information or strategy as part of the strategies to deal with this challenge of insecurity. That when he was Speaker of the House of Representatives, he convened a security summit, and in that summit some documents were released, a communique was released. Part of it was, in dealing with insecurity in Nigeria, we have to take care of the problem of border security. Our borders are porous. People can come in with whatever they have and they can go out whatever. Okay, I mean, you saw a few days ago in Ondo State, some bandits, some terrorists were arrested by Motekun. And these were people who escaped the US strike in Sokoto State. They found their way in Ondo State.
It's already moving
So why are they running? I thought that they had all it takes to, you know, continue this dastardly act where they're just killing people at will, collecting ransom, and they're using those monies to rearm themselves. And then some Nigerians like Sheikh Gumi will come out and be applauding and say, no, these are small boys who are hungry. Let's negotiate with them. After all, we negotiated with let's grant them amnesty. After all, we did that to Niger. The Niger Delta struggle was a different kettle of fish entirely.
All right.
Anyone who's trying to bring those things together does not mean well for this country.
All right, Dr. Sonny Duke, let's try to link up with our Lagos Network Center again. Patricia, good morning. Once again, Happy New Year. Let's try to hear you this time.
Good morning, Chukwufunaya, and Happy New Year to you. And of course, happy first Monday of the year. It's good to see you.
All right, so tell me, how's Lagos, and what's your take on the conversation we're having this morning, the insecurity situation in Nigeria, the U.S. strikes on the 25th of December, and also what's happening in Venezuela? Let's have your own perspective.
Thank you, Ifunanya. Lagos is calm. It's a beautiful weather this morning. We hope it doesn't change. Everywhere is calm and dry. Let's start with Venezuela president that was captured by President Donald Trump. I heard Dr. Sonny Duke saying that it could be connected to their crude oil. They have thick crude in Venezuela. But then again, we saw videos where the citizens of Venezuela were celebrating the capture of the president. So it says a whole lot of things. It means the president wasn't doing right, or probably like Donald Trump said, he was into drug trafficking and all that, So I do not think it has to do with their crude oil. That's my take on that. But it's my perception. I think that Donald had to correct certain things in the country. So let's move on to the insecurity in Nigeria. During the bomb from the U.S. Some days ago, or some weeks ago, we found out that kidnapping kind of reduced. But then again, it has started. For some few days now, we've been hearing stories how 35 people were kidnapped in certain states in the north, and then some were killed and that. So it means that the strike from the U.S. will eventually correct and probably stop the insecurity in Nigeria.
All right, thank you so much for your take there, Patricia. And actually, Dr. Sonny Duke is on the same side as you are. I was the one who was actually pointing out, crude oil exploitation.
As probably being the reason for what we've seen.
My apologies to Dr. Sonny Duke. At some point, I wasn't hearing you.
So you're on the same side, and yes, I'm just standing alone.
We're on the same side, because when you look at the circumstances of that, capture of Maduro, it was something that was going to happen, because in the days leading to that, we saw a lot of build-up, around the borders and all of that. But there's a different perspective to it, which has to do with that this guy, what's his name, that there was a sellout, all right, that there was a $50 million bounty placed on the head of Maduro, that his generals and all of that sold him out. That long before the U.S. came, these generals, these army chiefs and all of that, they left him. Do you understand? So that may have influenced why it was so easy for him to be captured, himself and his wife. And let's see what happens. But I think, for me, the most critical part of this whole conversation is what happens with the removal of Maduro. Because we have seen in several parts of the world where we've seen where this kind of operations took place. I think something like this happened some years back in Panama, where the U.S. also removed a sitting government. What happens? There's governance. There can't be governance in vacuum. So what's going to happen? How are the people going to, the leadership going to
already the Vice President Rodriguez, I think he's already standing by to take on the affairs.
Rodriguez may also fall in the way of Maduro, because she's one person who's been very, very critical of the government of President Donald Trump. She's still saying that, as we speak today, that the president of Venezuela remains Maduro. All right, and some of the things that...
So there's loyalty there.
Yeah, there's loyalty there. That could be a challenge for success. Now, I think it was Patricia who talked about the fact that in Venezuela, We saw a lot of videos where people are celebrating, people are jubilating because the country is in dire strait. The country, the people are hungry. The people are, the quality of life in Venezuela is near zero. A country blessed with so much resources because you have a leadership that is more concerned about being in relationship with China and all of that at the detriment of its people. So we want to see what will happen in the days to come. You can trust that the U.S. companies and all of that, they're going to move into Venezuela to re-establish some of those relations, because the refineries that were built in Venezuela, they were specifically made for the Venezuelan crude oil. So once they don't get crude oil stocks, those refineries become dormant. So it was a win-win situation for Venezuela and the U.S. But that's what happened when you have irresponsible leadership come into place with different agenda. Some of these things will flourish.
All right, we'll move on with the conversation in latter times. Up next is the newspaper review segment. However, I want to let you know that you can watch ITV live online at www.itvradioNG.com/live. Follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at ITV Radio NG. Like I did say, up next is the newspaper review segment. Stay with us. Welcome back to TMI on the ITV network. We're still reviewing all of the important things in our social space, and the newspapers embodies that. So this is our newspaper review segment on the program. And of course, we have our guest reviewer, as usual, Dr. Dan Ekeraifo, the HOD Mass Communication Department at the University of Benin, is standing by to join us. Good morning to you and a Happy New Year, Dr. Dan.
Good morning and Happy New Year too.
All right, such a pleasure to have you. Now, let's move on to our newspapers. The first paper we'll be reviewing happens to be Daily Independent. A major headline there says, Nigeria's hurdle is converting hot money to real growth, and this is asserted by experts. Also on Daily Independent, you see operators where new tax laws may hike fares undermine safety, and that's under aviation. Also on Daily Independent, 25 dead, 14 missing as boat capsizes in Yobe. That story is on page 7. Also, Serap asks Tinubu to probe missing 128 billion naira in power ministries, NBET says, and that's on page 6. Also on Daily Independent, alleged defamation. Federal government withdraws suit against Natasha on page 29. Also on Daily Independent, NDLEA intercepts illicit drugs in coffee sachets, detains 22 Indians over cocaine shipments. Daily Independent also says Venezuelans remain shell-shocked after U.S. captured Maduro. That's on page 6. And now on to you, Dr. Dan. Let's get your insights on the Daily Independent newspaper.
Thank you very much. The question raised by experts regarding the availability of resources, but failure to translate such resources to real growth or development has remained the problem of Nigerian state from independence. If we look at our first and second and third national development plan, physical structures were put in place. The government made deliberate effort to engage in real development when the state decided to set up industries and all that. But around 1988, when we looked at what IMS offered us in terms of adverts, we decided to privatize and commercialize government assets. So key drivers of the economy that made life easy for Nigerians, we sold them to private enterprise. Till today, some of them are not functioning. What the investor did was to buy out those property, sell them off, and we cannot have real development. The challenge really is that there is so much corruption in the system, and every government that comes in wants to develop, wants to have their own development plan, and that becomes a problem. If succeeding government follow all the development plans over the years, Vision 2010, 2030, 2025, with the key indicators, would have made a high level of progress. Look at what we do with the road sector. A governor starts a road, another governor comes in and abandons that road because he wants to take the glory that he initiated a road project and completed it. This is one of the challenges. The issue about tax hike and the necessary security and inflation that will come out of it. These are fears that persons are expressing. The one question you should ask yourself is, in developed climes where so the government generates revenue from other sources apart from mineral resources, you realize that taxes are the major drivers of such economies. Why are we shying away from that? What we should be thinking about is what measures are we putting in place to ensure that revenue generated are not shared by the political class. That should be the focus, really. The fears about hike, airline operators, transporters, it's not a problem that will undermine the country. The resources that will be generated, can we translate them to real growth? Don't forget, if you earn more and you have the capacity to pay tax, even if they say fair is also a match, you'll be able to pay. But when the economy is not in a good state, there's little or nothing you can do.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Dan. Let's look at what we have on our next daily, the New Telegraph newspaper. Interesting stories there. It says, terrorists attack Niger again, kill over 40, abduct scores, including children, burnt market, destroyed Catholic mission house as priest escapes, hunt them down. Tinubu orders military police DSS. Northern governors condemn attack as ex-ACF urges U.S. airstrikes on bandits in Benue. You find these stories on page 4, 5, and 28 of the New Telegraph. Still on the New Telegraph, Tinubunomics never promised instant abundance. Budget office, tax laws protest rumor. FG places police on alert. Abia North, let's live together in love, peace. This is coming from Senator Kalu, who is urging communities. All right. So let's quickly get your take on this story, Dr. Dan.
Your state has remained persistent with kidnapping, violence. I've been wondering why the military authorities have not taken strategic action with reference to Niger State. Although Niger State is one of the largest in terms of landmass in Nigeria, but with drone surveillance and other technological devices, these men and women can be captured. So I have been asking myself why government has remained indifferent to Niger State in terms of what the bandits are doing. Apart from the cases of the Catholic school kidnapping, this recent incident again, you've had cases of violence in Niger State perpetrated by terrorists. Is it that the army authorities are not thinking about resolving this issue once and for all? The places where they live are known. So you ask yourself, why this problem? What I will say is that just like the president has ordered, I expect swift action. I expect total routing of these terrorists so that for once, Niger State can come under peace. from the Shiroro that area to all the places where these things have been perpetrated. They are known to the authorities. Action is what Nigerians want to see. And since the president has given that order, we hope to get positive results from it. The follow-up headline to that story regarding plan by people to protest the tax law urge Nigerians to give this law a chance. Budgeting in Nigeria over the years, we have been running on deficit. We have been running a deficit budget over the years. So if the tax law, for what the chairman explains, we provide a buffer such that government knows it's going to generate, the idea of over borrowing or budgeting and you end up borrowing from foreign nations and you put the destiny of future Nigerians in jeopardy, I don't think is a step in the right direction. Those who are expressing fear, let our concern actually be how can we make government more accountable? That should be the focus. Recall that in 2012, when Jonathan was to remove fuel subsidy, we fought against it. Yeah. Government is introducing tax laws that will make everything, revenue generation, much easier. People are fighting against it tomorrow. If you fight it now and a new government comes in and now becomes the best option, people will say, oh, this was what Tinubu wanted to do. Let's give it a try. But our demand should be about accountability. That is my take to that headline. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Dan. We'll move on to Nigerian Tribune now. The major headline there says, bandits kill over 30 in Niger. Tinubu orders crackdown. Just beneath it says, troops eliminate more than 23 bandits in Kanu, Katsina onslaught.
Okay, let's move away from the Tribune and let's go to This Day newspaper. It says, Sahara Group backs FG's infrastructure drive, sees new era of stability in energy sector. But I think this should be of interest. It says, Tinubu, terrorists have tested Nigeria's resolve. They must face full consequences. Let's see more stories we can bring you. At Dedeji, we are implementing gazetted tax laws, not harmonized version. Passage followed due process. Dr. I'd like to get your comments on the controversy on the tax law passed. Some politicians have been telling us that, even some House of Representative members have been saying that this law, we don't actually know the law the tax law we're following, that what they sent wasn't what was eventually passed, that it was doctored, there were some intrusions into it, and that has brought a lot of some negative vibe around the new tax law. You want to get your take on that?
Well, I have two perspectives to these issues. Either the government is hiding the truth about the doctrine of the tax law, or the political class and the opposition are trying to raise issues to disparage the government. As information managers, what I expect the government spokespersons to have done by now, if the government is clean in this matter, is to present what the assembly presented and what the gazetted law is, so that Nigerians can make sense out of the two, whether it was actually doctored. If the government is able to do that, it will go a long way in resolving this issue once and for all. But if the government keeps insisting that it is the past law that was gazetted, you create room for rumors and speculations. Again, yesterday I read through I followed the news where the House of Reps presented their own version that what was gazetted was what was passed. I was wondering whether certain things have exchanged hands, other ground to create this. However, for those spreading this speculation for the past 2 weeks that the gazetted law was not the actually passed version, I also expect them to show evidence about what was passed and the input made by the executive to a law that was not actually passed by them. So these are two perspectives. For me, to resolve this issue, government should show evidence of what was passed to the executive from the legislator and what legislature and what the executive gazetted. If the government is able to do this, it will resolve the issue once and for all. But we are preparing for elections, and things like this will begin to spring up. And there are strategies to disparage the government, to label the government as enemy of the state, so that Nigerians can make decisions. Let's see what happens with this law in the with this issue in the coming days. However, the best way to resolve it is for them to present the past version and what was gazetted. That is the way to go.
So much, Dr. Dan. Now, for Daily Trust newspaper, which is our next point of call, one headline there says, ADC ticket, Obi Kwankwanso to battle Atiku. Also, how bandits killed 60 in Niger. Also on Daily Trust, 27 die, 13 missing in Yobe boat mishap. One major headline there says, NAS disowns gazetted tax laws. Well, those are the headlines on Daily Trust newspapers.
Okay, I'm sure, Dr. Dow, we talked about this controversy surrounding the tax law. We've seen that even the National Assembly has disowned the gazetted tax law. I'm sure you want to comment on that, but let me just add what we have on the front page of Vanguard. It says 42 killed in deadly terror attacks. It captioned this as New Year bloodshed in Niger State. All right, then Maduro faces arraignment as global outrage grows. Trump stokes confusion in Venezuela. This is one story that has been trending in the last couple of days. So let's wrap it up this way, Dr. Dan. The reaction of the National Assembly disowning the tax law and then what's playing out in Venezuela is also a major point. I'd like to get your perspectives on that before we conclude the paper's review segment.
What is the Assembly expected to do, the National Assembly expected to do? If a law they passed is not what is gazetted, what are they supposed to do? There's a challenge with Assembly leadership, whether at the national or state levels, where both the executive and legislative leadership, most of the time, they are cap in hands, engaged in jaw conversations. If a law is passed and what is gazetted is not in line with it, the Assembly should take action. That is when to establish order in a society. And if what was gazetted is not what was passed, a demand should be made. Have you heard anything from the Senate President or the Speaker of the House of Representatives regarding this issue? If there's nothing coming from the two leaders of the National Assembly, all we keep saying will be story, and nothing will come out of it. I have followed the Maduro story clearly. I have been asking myself this question. Why is it that presidents of nations that are not doing well, who are oppressing their nations, who have destroyed their economy, we hide under the toga, oh, is it democracy? And you know that during election, these people will not allow elections to hold. They rig themselves back into power. Global leaders will not condemn those actions. Donald Trump, who says he wants a new world order, where America will take its rightful place, people are condemning him. Venezuela, that is the richest in terms of oil reserves. The inflation in that country is running to heaven. People cannot feed. No leader has raised question about the attitude of Maduro and what he has been doing. And a man says, no, we need to bring order back into this country. People are condemning those actions. Yes, as a sovereign nation, their rights should be protected. But where the president has been using the military to oppress his citizens, what is the reaction of the global leaders to all of this? For me, what Donald Trump has done has sent a very strong message to other leaders of the world. If you don't behave well, America will come after you. America is the world police. Those of us who have studied the hegemony of the world system, we need the world police, and America has been playing that role. Those capacity for we should respect the right of citizens. What you need to demand of the president of other nations of the world that are oppressing their citizens is the need for them to rule their countries according to the law. Make life easy for their citizens. If an economy is good and the citizens are doing well, America cannot come here and the citizens will leave America to do what they did in Venezuela. But because the man has messed the country up and has become a civilian dictator, the citizens are helpless. So, like you said in your intro, why were the citizens celebrating? You saw the huge crowd celebrating the ouster of Maduro. It's a clear sign that the citizens have been asking for this relief over the years, and they finally got it. So, democracy is good. It is the right of the people to make choices. But what our political leaders have done over the years, they deny citizens of the right to actually have a say in how governance is done. And if there is a check from a global watchdog like America, I don't see anything wrong with that.
All right.
Even though I'm a Democrat.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Dan. Always a delight to have you share some of these perspectives on these issues. Thank you so much for your time with us on the newspaper review segment. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're still on to TMI on the ITV network. We're taking you now to Casablanca, Morocco, where the 2025 African Cup of Nations is in full throttle. Yesterday, we saw Bafana shown the exit door by the indomitable Lions of Cameroon. Today, Nigeria will have their turn in the quarterfinal stage. 9 points in the kitty from the group stage, and 3 wins from 3 games. I mean, the story is so bullish for Nigeria and the fans of the round letter game. Today, the Pharaohs of Egypt will also lock horns with Benin Republic. So we'll be talking with Solomon Aino, our ITV and radio sports correspondent, who has been covering the 2025 African Cup of Nations in Morocco. Solomon, good to have you join us on the program TMI this lovely Monday morning. Let me just share some insights with you. Maybe you can confirm some of this story. Nigeria is playing Mozambique today in the quarterfinal stage, and we hear Eagles, they have to get 14 million naira per goal. All right. Mozambique defender has warned Osimhen and Lookman to beware of them. But the skipper of the Super Eagles, Ndidi, is saying we must not underrate Mozambique. Eric Chill is saying his dream is to beat Mozambique 5-0. And we hear that a Cameroonian coach, Cameroonian referee will be officiating into this match. So talk to us, what's the mood like in AFCON 2025 in Morocco?
Well, it's very good to join in at this beautiful morning to talk about what's happening at the African Cup of Nations. So much excitement for football lovers and fans everywhere in the world right about now as regards the African Cup of Nations. And I tell you, the coach of the side have been saying a whole lot ahead of the game. And yesterday during the press briefing, Eric Charles was also telling journalists that he will be his own joy if you can see the Super Eagles of Nigeria score 5-6 goals. But it is what it is in any football game. And the number of goals you score determines, ultimately determine the outcome of any football match. And right now, the major concern for the captain of the side, who is Wilfred Ndidi, is saying that we take it one game at a time. That the Super Eagles of Nigeria will definitely not rush into the euphoria of being one of the tournament favorites or go all the way to win this particular one. Right now, yesterday during the training session, yesterday evening during the training session, the players are in high spirits, full preparation in top gear rather for the match that's taking place later on today in Fez. Because the Super Eagles of Nigeria ultimately have made Fez their home ground in the African Cup of Nations. 3 games played already from the group stages in Fez, and ultimately qualifying as one of the best side in not just Group C, but the entire African Cup of Nations group stages. Will still have their game yet again played in Fez. Automatically, they have the home advantage, as some fans and also journalists are already saying about that in this particular competition. We're referring to the comment by the Mozambique captain yesterday. He's just saying that the Super Eagles of Nigeria should not feel relaxed about the fact that they see them as underdog in the tournament and should be in their best behavior and also their best playing form against the side. We saw Mozambique put out a very good group stage. They didn't qualify as the first team or the second team in their group, but as one of the best losers, as a third place side. But ultimately, Mozambique have been a side to watch out for. And yesterday also, when asked, talking about Wilfred Ndidi about seeing the games played by Mozambique, he ultimately said yes, that they are not a side that you can just overlook in the tournament, and definitely want to put your 100% effort in trying as much as possible to get a good result against the Mozambique. The coach of the side also very optimistic, talking about the Mozambique coach. He also was saying that the Super Eagles of Nigeria being a very good side, that they also can spring up surprises. So far, so good in the tournament. We've seen a major surprise from sides like yesterday when we saw Cameroon against the Bafana of South Africa, 2-1. A beautiful victory in that particular. And Tanzania also almost proved to be a hard nut to crack for the host nation Morocco, where Morocco settled for a 1-0 victory dead in the game before they got that winner in that particular encounter. You need to see the excitement on the streets of Morocco after that victory. Right, there's so much excitement for the football-loving fans in the city of Fez and also all around Morocco. I tell you, the atmosphere is actually getting more and more intense as we head into the round of 16, deeper into the round of 16. And also the Egyptians will be taken to the pitch later on today in Rabat, where they will be squaring up against Benin Republic. No team can be overlooked in this particular edition of the tournament, as everybody, all the side participating in the Africa Cup of Nations, have brought in their A game and they have been delivering results. So the Super Eagles of Nigeria have everything in their hands to actually go all the way in this tournament, and not just the match, but just like what the captain of the side said yesterday during the press conference, it is one game at a time. You take it one game at a time. So their main focus right now is the match against the Super Eagles, against the Mozambique side right now. And they are hoping and also believing that they can have all players on ground. Yesterday, reports also coming in that 2 players will not be participating. 3 players rather will not be participating right now. Talking about Ryan Alebresu, he's out injured after the game against Uganda, and also will not be having the presence of Sirdiza, who have actually returned to his club side due to injury, and also Nadi also will be out of the side due to cold. And I think it's just the weather here that has not been on a good side for some of the Super Eagles players. We also saw Victor Osimhen complain about the weather and the cold, but right now they are looking to get more and more opportunity to play for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, and it's definitely going to be a beautiful one later on this night.
All right, this injury concerns, is one of the questions I was going to ask you. How is the coach responding to these injury concerns? I mean, 3 key players that we've heard of who displayed some very fantastic showing in some of the games that they've participated. And Chile, we know, is not a coach who wants to have a permanent squad of some sort. He likes to rotate players and all of that. So these injury concerns that we are seeing, I wouldn't even call them concerns. This injury problem that we are seeing, how is the team dealing with it?
Well, I would say for the injuries, it's somewhat normal in football. I believe we've seen that happen on many grounds, not just in this kind of tournaments, even out there in a league football, the Nigerian Professional Football League, the English Premier League, the Spanish La Liga, and the rest. We always enjoy, and this is a tournament that lasts for just a short period of time. Thankfully, the Confederation of African Football expanded the number of players that each team can call in for each tournament. Right about now, they have 28 players called in for this particular tournament. But right now, in the camp, they only have actively 25 players that can participate in today's counter. So just like what the question you asked, the coach of the side have ultimately been saying so much about injury concern so far in the tournament, and I think the medical staff have been able to manage it so well for the players, especially some of the big names in the side the captain for the last game. Talking about Victor Osimhen, he is one player that they've made sure that they manage his injury situation, and also Frank Onyeka, who have been so much good in the middle of the park for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, had injury concern against Tunisia, was substituted in that game. Ultimately, was a turning point for the Super Eagles of Nigeria in that encounter. Considered 2 quick goals immediately. He was substituted in that game. He also is fit, and they're trying as much as possible to manage the situation with some of those big names. But for the defensive setup, I think the only issue that they had was a yellow card. But right now, according to FIFA, according to CAF rules in this particular competition, all yellow card from the group stage have been expunged, and they will start afresh. So all the players are fit and ready to go for this particular encounter. And as seen yesterday during the training session in Fez, most of the players participated in the training. Victor Osimhen was there. Ademola Lookman was present. Alex Iwobi also. So much excitement on the faces of Alex Iwobi and Samuel Chukwueze. Calvin Bassey present, and also the goalkeeper of the side, talking about Stanley Nwabali, Amaso Basugi. All players are all fit. Just the few of them that are out due to injury. I tell you, Nigerians really want to see Alebwesu again. Talking about Ryan, but unfortunately, he might not be participating because he had a deep cut in the last game. He had a brilliant performance in that particular encounter, but according to the medical staff, he needs to recover fully before he goes back on the pitch. But for Cyril Desire, I think the tournament is already over for him because he already left for Panathinaikos, and we're still looking out for some other players, but majorly the ones that are in the starting 11 that have been playing majority of the games from the first game against Tanzania to the second game against Tunisia are all present for the game later on today.
Yes, as we hear, he's also injured. Is he back to the squad, or has he gone back to his club as well?
Who is that?
Cyril Dessers.
Cyril Desire is back to his club. He left a few days ago due to injury, a groin injury, which when assessed, the medical staff and also the coach of the side decided to just let him go back to his club side to recuperate fully for the continuation of the season. And many people have been asking questions about Ola Aina. He's back to the pitch for Nottingham Forest, but unfortunately, why he can't participate in this particular one because he was not listed in the 28-man squad for the competition. So ultimately, injury have been a concern even before the tournament and also during the tournament. But I think Richel and his team have been able to manage every injury crisis that have come their way in this particular tournament.
No, thank you so much for your time. I've got my colleague from Abuja Network Studio, Tolu Lokbe. Tolu, Solomon is waiting to react to some of your questions. I mean, we'll quickly do 1 or 2 questions before we'll bring in our guests here in the studio to have more conversation on TMI, ITV Network. So, is Tolu ready now?
Thank you so much, Doctor, for that. A quick one to Solomon. 2 of the teams from our group who made it to the knockouts have been sent packing, talking about Tunisia and talking about Tanzania. We are taking Mozambique, a side we have known for their short passes and ability to make use of space. Are you not worried about the Tanzanians sending the Super Eagles out of the competition? Another question I also want you to react to also has to do with the statement coming from the report coming from the camp of the Super Eagles concerning Richel preventing journalists from accessing the Super Eagles for about 3 days. That has been generating a whole lot of reaction. How have you been able to work around this? And also, what do you think about that decision by the Super Eagles camp? Solomon.
Let me answer the first question about the Mozambique side playing against the Super Eagles of Nigeria. You know, most Nigerian fans believe football to be a very easy sport. Let me put it that way because of the pedigree of the Super Eagles of Nigeria against that of Mozambique. But Mozambique, I tell you, in this tournament, have had a very beautiful run. A victory, a draw, a victory and 2 losses. But ultimately, they've shown tenacity in their play, and also they've pushed so hard to get to where they are right about now. They are calm, they're organized, they're composed on the field of play. They are fast. just like what you say, short passes have been something that they've banked on, but the Super Eagles of Nigeria are way better when it comes to that particular part. But the Mozambique can also spring up surprise. So the Super Eagles of Nigeria, knowing fully well of what Mozambique is actually capable of in this tournament, will not leave any stone unturned and will want to go head into this particular tournament. We're talking about the issue with journalists. Let me put it that way. It was actually addressed yesterday when journalists also asked the question as regards that talking about Eric Chell, and he said expressively that from his own side, he has done as much as he could for journalists to actually have a taste or see what the Super Eagles of Nigeria are doing ahead of every match day. CAF actually outlined just a day for press to actually come and witness training session, and it's about the first 15 minutes of every training section that CAF has actually outlined for press. But he magnanimously added another day for media parley for the press to come around to have conversation with the Super Eagles of Nigeria. He also said that he's not stopping any media personnel or journalists to come around the team hotel to see players, talk to players when they are done having dinner, breakfast, or lunch. That is not stopping anybody. But when it comes to training session, that sometimes behind closed doors is even the best, so that they can concentrate and focus on tactics and also a game plan ahead of every match. So he is saying that he did not outrightly say journalists should not come to training session, but CAF has actually given out a day, and he also magnanimously added another day. So the rest should be for the players and the team to actually come together and do something reasonable for themselves. And he is actually saying it is not just about the media just showing what they are doing to the world, but also for them to be able to have beautiful game on the pitch and have a good time playing football and representing the country well.
All right, thank you very much. Tolu, thank you so much. Solomon, thank you for those very, very useful insights into AFCON 2025, particularly on what to expect in today's game, Nigeria versus Mozambique. We're urging the Super Eagles to go all out and win this match convincingly. I mean, let's go back to the days of scoring 5 goals. That's what Eric Chell says he wants to see in today's game, and we know the Super Eagles have the capacity, the ability to do just that. It's the TMI on the ITV network. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll be talking with our guest who is already in the studio on the church today, yesterday, and the future, against the background of some of the recent development that we've seen with GOs, senior men of God, general overseers, general superintendent, involved in scandalous situations and abuse of office that has brought a whole lot of damages to the body of Christ. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with you in just a moment. Stay.
The new Idiom expressed excitement as they danced and rejoiced before the Esama of Benin, Sir Chief Dr. Gabriel.
Thanks again for returning our summer program, TMI, on the ITV network. The church yesterday, today, and the future, against the background of some of the development that we've seen in the last couple of days that has brought social media into a serious buzz. And to help us make sense of all of this, I'd like to thank Bishop Austin Igbasan, who is also the senior pastor of Deliverance Ministry. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, sir.
Okay. Are you concerned? Give me your take in terms of your concerns about some of the issues that have been at the front burner regarding some religious leaders, some men of God, in terms of abuse of office, sex scandal, and all of that?
Well, it is important that we are bothered, but it's also one of the signs of the end time. Don't also forget that before somebody is called by God, the person is first a human being. And every person, there is no perfect person on the surface of the earth. But as a called servant of God, there are ethics, there are rules and regulations, rules of engagement of the office you occupy. Because the work of the ministry is a calling, it's not a profession. So it is a call that God called people. And in the midst of this, you see, the net is thrown. The fisherman brings in the fish, and there are a lot of things that need to be separated from it according to the parable that was made by Jesus Christ. It's the parable of the net that the fisherman brings in the net and have to separate some things from it. So those things that are happening now bothered us. But as much as it is important to be bothered, it is something that has been spoken by Jesus concerning the end time. And I believe very strongly that it is only in Christian faith that we allow our wounded general to bleed to death. We are not told, God didn't tell us that we're not going to have crisis. He didn't tell us we're not going to have challenges. He didn't tell us that it is a smooth ride, that we are just going to have a smooth ride, it's going to be a drive-through. But what is important is that the Bible says, if anyone, in the book of Galatians chapter 6, is if any brother is at fault, he said they should be corrected in love, that the man that is even correcting should be careful of himself, lest the person is being tempted. The Bible says, he that thinketh he standeth, not that he that standeth. The Bible says, he that thinketh he standeth should take heed lest he fall. So we are bothered because the people that are called by God are in the front seat. They are like the pilots. So whatever happened to the pilot has an impact on the passengers who are on the flight. Okay. Because no matter who you are, even the president of this country, if he's inside the presidential jet, as soon as they take off from the ground, he's no more the president. Then the two guys who are there in the cockpit are the president of the airwave. They are the one that knows where we're going, the altitude, they know the weather, they know when turbulence and every other thing. So anything that happened to those two guys, their error can bring whatever the number of people on air are tied to them. So we are for that, but I think one of the best things we do also is that we must correct in love. We must show kindness, because Jesus himself, who is our leader, as soon as he fasted, the next thing that happened was the temptation. If Jesus had decided to turn the stone to bread that time, the devil would have turned Jesus to magician, because that was one of the targets. Why should devil come with the issue of turn this stone to bread to a man who had just finished, who is just fasting on a long chain fasting? He knew that the flesh is weak, and the next thing that a man who is fasting needed is food. So turn what is available. So devil wants to dictate the pace for Jesus, and he will have won, because Jesus was to be commissioned into his ministry. The Bible says the Spirit of God led him into the wilderness. Okay. We are about that, but I think one of the best things we should do is to be able to correct our brethren in love and not to allow them to bleed to death.
If you look at the conversation, you mentioned that some of the things happening today, they are, fallouts of the end time. But do you think, like some people will say, that some of these things we are seeing in the body of Christ is also a function of lack of proper mentorship, lack of proper training because it's a pattern. If you look at the case of Chris Okafor, which is the most prominent, talked about one, you're seeing a lot of videos coming out, oh, he did this, he did that. I don't know what you make of this.
I think the area of mentorship is very, very important. And God does not call people in isolation. When God calls an individual, you go through tutelage, you go through mentorship, you go through you become a mentee to a mentor. Now in this, it makes you accountable to not only to God, but to an elderly person who have been ahead of you, who will checkmate you, who will prune you and deal with your excesses, who will be able to handle you, who people will be able to say, let us go back to. So the issue of mentorship is very, very important. And sometimes it pains some of us because there is no other profession that are not calling. You go through tutelage. If you finish as a lawyer, you are not going to become senior advocate of Nigeria. No matter how eloquent you are, you have to be in somebody's chamber who you follow, or the person will follow you up until you are able to open your own. You go with that senior lawyer to court. He will put you through on what is suit, what must you do. He will ask you to write brief, and these are stages you go through. The man will correct you so that you'll be able to become, when he see that you are mature, you go and open your chamber. You can't come out as a lawyer from law school today, call to bar, and you begin to run your chamber. You have to go through the tutelage of an individual. No matter senior advocate of Nigeria, Olani Pekun, has a son who is a son. The boy didn't come out of law school and become a son the same day he came out. He has to go through the process and become a son, or even as his father is a son. So I think that the issue of tutelage, the issue of mentorship, you see, gifting is one thing, anointing is one thing, tutelage and going through process is another thing.
Is this more common with people who call themselves into ministry, different from those who got called into ministry? Because in the days of yore, you hardly see things like this happening.
It's very hard for you to see, because even with all the anointing God gave to me, I went through the tutelage of a boss, that even I wash his car, I bathe his children, with everything God has given to me at that time, he called me brother. My senior pastor called me brother. Even when I was an evangelist, many people in the church said, God is using him. They even try as much as possible to tell me that, why will he be calling you brother in the presence of everybody in church? He introduced you to the altar as a brother. I said, that is the first position you must assume as a child of God. If you are not a brother, every other title is not a mantle. The place where mantle rested is the place of a brother. And that is why you are seeing today that many people are not brother. They have become pastor. They have become reverend. And that issue of the missing link of not being a brother will definitely reflect. Because being a brother in Christianity is like you have done your jump, you score, you do your post UTME, you can now be admitted into the university. So no matter how brilliant you are, if JAMB said you didn't make it, there is no how you can be admitted. If you are admitted, then which means that you have jumped through the window. So the issue of not being a brother is an issue, because I know many things within the period I went through that tutelage. I knew what the life of my boss, he influenced me. I knew the correction. He gave me some correction with microphone. He corrected me in public with microphone, and I wasn't irritated because I was going through tutelage. Titus, the book of Titus said, correct them sharply so that they will be able to grow spiritually. So the issue, you remember there's a man of God in this country that many people decided not to associate with because they were challenging his tutelage, where he went through. He's no more alive now, but the bone of contention is that who groomed you? Who was your senior pastor? Who tutored you? Who were you accountable to? We don't know your story. You said God just called you and you started a church and people are trooping in there. Many people, they refuse to associate with the man because they were looking at what is your foundation. God called you, fine. God called Moses. The Moses that God called and said, pull your shoe. This place you are is a holy ground. God took him again through a man who tutored him. It was the man that said, don't kill. Look, you share your spirit to 70 elders. This work the fatigue is much. You are going to fuck out yourself. Now, that is under tutelage. A man that have the anointing. Jethro did not have such anointing of Moses, but he submitted himself to the tutelage. Because don't forget that Jethro is the one that was the father-in-law, the man that was in town, the priest in town. So the question is the place of tutelage. Okay. The place of mentorship. That is when somebody come up today, so God has called me, is an apostle. You ask him what is the seminary you went through? I was in seminary. After I left seminary, I came under tutelage. Not teaching in seminary. I was brought to be under, within the period in seminary, I was placed under a tutelage for 6 months, where I will leave the seminary to go and serve under a senior priest who will give an approval on my conduct within the flock. And then I return back after 6 months, back to the seminary with the statement of my attitude, what I did within that 6 months in that local church. Now the man wrote back to the seminary. The seminary with that report, they are able to move me to the next class. From there, I graduated to come. And after that, I was pushed again to go on tutelage under a senior pastor. But most of these things you see, you ask yourself question, this man gave his life to Christ, and God poured so much anointing on him. Who groomed him? Who tutored him? Who was he accountable to? Who mentored him? Okay, who pruned him?
What's your concern or your take on the fate of the brethren? Are they part of the problem when we have this kind of scenario playing out? Because you find today's church, people want to go to where there's a prophet who we see 50 years from now and give you all this kind of stuff, where there are miracles and miracles without really questioning how some of these miracles come. You find instances where people are saying, you have some men of God who do what they call Bible plus ministry and stuff like that. What's the fate of the brethren in all of this?
Now, the brethren are the receiving end. The issue of the work of the house of God. Now, God called some people to tutor men. And the place of fivefold ministry is that we are the portion, your area of calling. Are you a pastor? Are you a prophet? Are you a teacher? Are you an apostle? But because of adulteration, you see, those days, people go to church not because they want their problem solved, but because they want to be a follower, to follow Jesus Christ. It was a total package, but miracle is not the center point. Miracle is not the center point. The center point is that I want to give my life to Christ and serve God and preach to others. Don't forget that people in the scripture, people have their problem, yet they still preach. I give an example of a small girl that was captured from Israel and brought to Naaman's house. That girl is supposed not to preach, because if you want to tell people, say, why did your God allow them to capture you at battlefield and make you a slave here? But that girl, even at slavery, she was able to introduce her own God to her mistress, to say, sir, madam, what is troubling Oga? If they go to our village, God is using a man. We have a God that solved issue. If it was like this then, people will say, I'm serving God. God never solved my own. Am I going to talk about another person? That girl was able to bring salvation to a general. So at the receiving end, the first thing is that know Jesus by yourself. I think that many people of these days, because the Bible talks about at the end time, there will be people of inching ear, that they wouldn't want to hear the sound doctrine. They want to hear what they love, people that speak what they want to hear. So, and I think that everybody must know God personally. You know, there are things people criticize about the church on television, but because many people in church did not know God personally, People criticize giving. I'm an example of giving. I give to higher authority. I give to people of the same, because the Bible talks about 3 kind of fellowship you must have. He said the rain fell, the wind blew, and the flood came. And these 3, he said it blew on the house, and the house stood. Now you are going to have rain relationship. People that are greater than you, wind relationship, people that are of the same colleague, the flood relationship are people under you. That on this 3 platform, you need them to be able to fix your life. So I think that if people in the church knew God by themselves, the Bible says search the scripture. Some of the things we saw people run as gospel, stage managing miracle that is real, sir. Miracle is too real. And that is why you see those who don't know God that will be talking about, oh, let us stage miracle. Miracle is too real, sir. I'm talking here. There is a child, a guy was brought to our church the other day. I didn't know them. They said the 2 kidney packed up. They don't even have money to buy kidney or fowl. The parent, they are not member of our church. Our church mother is a neighbor to them and carried that child, brought to church and dropped on the altar. We prayed and God healed the child. Now the child I'm talking about today has given birth to 2 children. Are you going to tell that girl now that Jesus is not real? Now, if it is stage managed, which means those people did not know God, we must know God. God is too real. And those who practice this, they never had an encounter with God. There are people that started well. Now, after some time, they were introduced by people who run this kind of ministry, and they became adulterated. And that is why foundation is very important. Everywhere you go, you must have, the most important center point is that know Jesus by yourself. When you know Jesus by yourself, and you find yourself in the place where you feel the presence of God is not any child of God. The Bible says those that are led by the Spirit of God are the sons of God. Those who do this abracadabra ministry, they don't do it alone. Don't forget that they have PA. They have people that work for them. They have people that drive them. And the pain is that all this chunk of people are also going to the same direction, because the person that help you to take somebody to a room is not unaware of what you are doing. The person that help you to bring somebody that is not blind is not unaware of what you are doing, and there is no how that person can be born again, because both of you is a blind leading the blind. My concern is that people should know God by your. When you know Jesus by yourself, you cannot be bamboozled, and the Spirit of God will definitely let you know that something is wrong in that.
Is CAF and CAN, I beg your pardon, CAN and PFN, are they equivalent in bringing this kind of characters to justice, or regulating them or sanctioning them?
That God calls somebody does not also mean that the person cannot fall. It does not also rule out that every individual has what we call human weakness. But one major thing is that you must understand your weakness. I suffer from a particular weakness for many years. It took almost a decade before I was able to overcome. And it was anger. And this anger will always come when we are having a program. Devil will look for somebody to trigger me. Maybe one of the staff who's supposed to do something. There was a time we asked somebody to come with a wireless mic, paid for it. It was when I want to preach in a crusade, they said, the man not come. The brother, he's a brother in the church. And I suffer from this thing publicly. I lost a lot of people I've invested into them because of anger, and that I can't manage it in the public. I don't want God's work to flop. So I need to display the anger. The same anger that Moses displayed when he saw the people worshiping idol after 40 days of collecting the tablet 10 commandments. He threw it, and God was angry because God owns the people. God owns the commandment. You can't do that. But the same anger he didn't manage to, he killed, he became a murderer at a tender age. That was the same anger that made God to say, pull your shoe where you are. Pull your shoe. The shoe of anger. And it was that same anger that didn't allow him to make the promised land. Now, a pastor can have problem. He can have challenges, because people don't see pastor as somebody that can have his personal weakness. But I think that even the CAN and PFN have the role to say this and that you have not done well.
Okay.
I've seen situations where our fathers of faith have stepped in when there is an issue with an individual. Yeah. Somebody that is wrong today at the altar cannot, there's something that rule it out that the person cannot be right.
So what is the best decision to make at such critical moment?
One, organs who are to regulate the operations of churches, I mean Christian organ, or to call leadership of such denomination, calling them to order, raise a committee for proper investigation, eventually ask the leadership of the church to step aside while some other person are appointed, not within the flock, somebody else among the team of the CAN and PFN can come, and the leadership of that church, the governing council, can work with that individual. You can't step out and be the one administering the church at that time. Bora F will preach today, Bora 24 preach tomorrow. You can't do that. The leadership of CAN or PFN, we set up a committee, go into this thing. Are they true? If these are facts, then what do we do? This person must be given a period of time that the person will be out of the altar to be able to deal with the flesh and also be mentored, because what is happening to what the case you mentioned, it is not, it's serious, it's something that's more than one, it's not two. So these things must be properly investigated. It is not something that somebody will step out for 1 month. It is something that can take a year. I remember the one that happened to a big man of God the other time. One of our father in faith stepped in. The man was asked not to preach for 1.5 years. He was out of his, he was even moved out of that church to go to a spiritual center where he will be, they mentor him. And today the man is doing great. He's doing well. So Kenneth Copeland had 2-3 marriages that failed, but the other one has stayed almost 50 years now. So it means that if somebody is wrong yesterday, it doesn't mean that the person cannot be corrected. But the issue, you cannot be a judge in your own case.
All right. Thank you very much, Bishop Austin Igbasan. It's always a delight to have you here on the program.
Thank you, sir.
It's the TMI on the ITV network. Tolu is on standby from Abuja Network Studio to continue on our lineup for today. Tolu, if you're there, you can just take it away.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wilson, right here, taking us through that spiritual path and setting the tone as we're looking forward to a year that will be definitely fruitful for everyone. And third year being fruitful, we also need to make a perspective for the in the broadcast this year, the fourth of I talked about the economy rebounding. What are the key indicators that will show that the economy will definitely rebound? Joining this morning, the media and economy, and also live with me in studio is Raji Kolawole, also an economist too. As we take a look at the key indicators of the economy, the chances of the economy rebounding. So much talk has been going on. Some talking about the fact that there are positives to look out for 2026, that the economy is on the path of recovery. But let me first take Raji on this. Just talk about the people in the banking sector, people who are in the economy, saying so much, what's likely to happen in this day. That they indicate that the economy is bound. We agree with those indicators.
Yes, to a very large extent, I agree with them. Okay. The economic outlook in 2026, according to the CBN, is at 4%. Nigeria's economy grew. This is not a boom, actually, in actual sense, just that we are moving in the right direction. You know, I would go back some 2 or 3 years. 2023, 2024 were mostly years of instabilities and a lot of price shocks and economic shocks. I'll call it a year of stability. Things went down, but at least not as much as they were. There was a balance to the price levels, and I believe that 2026, this tide going to come. You find out that in 5, Nigeria's GDP grew most from non-sector, from agriculture. A little bit agriculture is basically, but manufacturing was still down. Our whole sector provided a lot of for Nigeria GDP growth in 2025, and I believe that these sectors are also going to grow. Another sector we're not looking at properly in creator. I believe 2026 we're going to see a lot of revenue from creative sector. Also, let us not leave out Africa policy, which is a taxation policy, which is in the tax net. Yes, government is going to see a lot of revenue from that. GDP, because it's not a student of GDP.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that you find out that most households will now have more disposable income. What I mean by that is that, for example, people that earn between 1 to 1.5 million naira monthly will now pay less tax. What this does is that they now have more disposable income to spend, and that affects consumer spending on the GDP calculation. Also on the revenue side, government will now even have more money to spend for government. So all of this will affect GDP on a general basis, and you look at it, the economy will grow. Also, on inflation too, yes, Nigeria's foreign reserve is at 45 billion presently. Going by the way remittances is going, presently the UK has just increased minimum wage, and that is going. A lot of the Nigerians that are in the UK do Jackpot syndrome. You find out that remittances has been growing for the past 2 years. In 2026 is also likely to grow. Now, if government's projection also on oil, if we can continue to ensure that security is better, our oil production next couple of months might increase from 1.5 million barrels. The price estimated to or outlooked to reduce like barrel, but if our production increases, that also aggregate that is good. So I'm very
really interested in the you mentioned right there and what's going to happen in 2026. But for an ordinary man, for a layman on the street, when you talked about inflation, we also look at the purchasing power of money, which is also a major cause of concern. Because the street is looking at the purchasing power, what he's earning, can he be able to look up? For those in the offices who are looking at this, you can say there is growth, there is improvement. But for the layman on the street, would you say that it makes sense?
I won't use the word term layman. I'll use the term Nigerians.
Okay.
Yeah, also on the streets.
Okay.
2026 is going to be a better year.
Okay.
Not just the way I said, it's not going to be a boom,
yeah,
but it's going to be far better. It's going to be better than 2025 and 2024. Yeah. And the reasons are simple. The first reason, which I raised, was taxation.
Yeah.
If you're a civil servant and you normally pay tax, you find out that based on this new tax law, you pay less tax. When you pay, that means your net pay would most likely increase this 2020. And you have on foodstuffs and other utilities. That's one. Now, let's look at the price of fuel, which is a very big constituent of full inflation in Nigeria. Last year, 2024, December, the price of a liter of petrol was around 1,000 naira.
Yeah.
That day, you can walk in station. If you go to MRI, if you go to stations, you get maybe like 89. Yes. 20. So you see that the price is going down, and that will have an effect on the Nigerian. Yeah. Now, the last one, which is FX stability. As of year December, the parallel market was at 1,600 to a dollar. As at two markets at 1,450 to a dollar. That's like 50 naira difference. Okay. So all of these effects are going to have effects on the cost of goods and services in Nigeria. It might not be substantial, but it will be a slight reduction. Yes, you can say price, but those prices are going to fall.
Okay, let me hold a little bit. So, John, I'll also be via Zoom this morning by an economist talking about Ali looking at the 2020 and also the possibility of the economy rebounding. We've been talking with Raji Kolawole, and it's also been shedding light on some of the key indicators that makes 2026 to be a promising year for an average Nigeria on the street right there. If I have Aliu, it's right there with me. You also same sentiment about 2026 the for Nigerians better life to afford some of the things of life. What is your own take on this, Aliu?
Thank you for having me. I don't understanding the macroeconomic positivity in Nigeria and West actually low. Because look at where we are coming from compared to 2024, 2025. I think this year we have much more optimism, even though it is with caution. optimism again because if you look at the benefits again of those macroeconomic indicators, and if you look at, I listened to you while you were asking about people and ordinary Nigerians. My fear is that it will be pretty difficult for us to realize the benefit of them to become some things. Because if you look at Nigeria today, the demand side is a problem. Yes, if you go to the markets now, you see that food, price of food, price of gari, price of tomato, price of commodities come down considerably. But the question is that do we have the purchasing power, the disposable income, and how about the demand side of it? And that's my fear. It simply means that this year will be a year that you will see labor demanding for more. You see more working demanding because what they have in their hands is not enough to actually buy. And what we call the government attention, down, but transportation coming down. That's what we need to look at critically. Because look at the cost of even food in Ogun, you see that food transport still remains the major problem. We are going to have a PLD and this actually hold up in the price of commodities. So the price of goods and services coming down, these are the purchasing power, is there. So that's the gap actually see. We pray to not see anything like force major, but from the macroeconomic indicator, quarter of 2026 is going to be positive.
Thank you so much for inside it right there. And also, let me come back, Kolaji, right here in the studio. Say hold your thoughts. We're talking about employment. Then some of the major challenges also facing us going to 2020. These days, do you foresee a situation where there will be increases in employment? For us to be boost, also need to be able to in capital. And we need to increase in employment. Do you foresee a situation where there may be more capital for the cool roads? But this is enough. Do you foresee, and looking at the budget and what we are looking at 2026, there will be more capital projects that will lead to increase in employment?
Okay, I said before, I always try to my place so I don't go out of line. When this year is not a year of boom, we're going to see little different, but something slightly from the year previously. Note that this 2026 is a pre-election year, and pre-election they are going to increase in money price. Okay. Now, what that might pre-election year is most politicians will go to their local government project, so there will be money into those communities, which the business person is going to use to purchase 3 extra. So you're going to see that happen, which is going to use activities from the local government to the state to the federal. Now affects every sector, but one sector that will affect is the printing sector. Yeah, you're going to find out that people in the printing sector, probably in Abuja, they're going to do a lot more printing and a lot more activities that are going to happen there. So that is going to happen. So it might not have a very sizable impact on, but it's going to change one or two things gradually. Yeah. And it's important that we understand based on international standards. Okay. If you have not acted for a job in the past 4 weeks, you are not unemployed.
Okay.
You are unemployed. In the past 4 weeks, you have actively looked for a job. Okay. So it is important that we know that. So now when you see the MBA data and they say that unemployment is at 4.3%, and even when you are underemployed, you are not unemployed. You are also infused into the employed category. If you are in past 2, no matter how it came about, not employed. So our figures at 4.3 parameters the MBS uses to say that unemployment rate is at 4.3%. fight, and so forth and so forth. So basically, we might not see a big difference in unemployment figures this year. There's going to be some difference.
Okay. Link up with Ali right there. It's still right there. One major area that also has huge influence on Nigerians is the exchange rate, the forex. According to the right job, compared to what we presently have right now, it has dropped. The situation where there will also be a gradual fall rate, probably to 100 or 100. You know what? Currently, between 50 or 1460. Do you foresee that, and what impact that have on the economy?
Right. I'd like to just chip into what said. We discussed about employment. I think we have employment issue, and I think we need to start calling the attention of MBS to the media. If you work 1 week, you are right before it has so to have them there is neither here nor there. If you look at the because so and service employment, portfolio investment, bring their exchange in bank instruments and go. So we can actually get people employed. You see, invest in industrial such as manufacturing and also agricultural sector. Remember, the manufacturing agriculture is supposed to take lead while the manufacturing follows suit. That's the only way we can get employed. So government should invest in those areas, reduce the MPR so that people can go to bank to borrow. That's that. Now you talked about the foreign exchange. Remember, there's what we call deflator. Deflator simply means that not meant in macroeconomy. Deflator is there. And that's why if you look at the GDP in Africa, we are like number 5, be number 1, because we have the population, we have the purchasing power. But the deflator is that currency measurement, whereby after everything, you now come and bring the foreign exchange value and deflate it. It's what we are number 5. Now, are we going to have the answer is yes. It's going to be simply because until we start off production by down with the human supplement, you can also make foreign to also help. I will need more ports. So those, if you look at the economy now, import is discouraged and then it's export. But like 1,900. I think that's the government's even budget. They also are more before they use the global ambitions, even if they don't expect it to come down beyond that. They think we can with the dollar, and that's my expectation. I think we should push it, but we should put out more for production. If you don't, that's why the issue of share they know export and so adding value and production. I think that's what we can actually rely exchange for favorable to the perhaps we must also not forget the branching of structural problem, which is by no country actually does that. No government actually control that, but we must not leave. If you go to any country, I recall the last country I went to, it is when you want to get money, you are going to bring national, they want to print it, they want to know who are you, where you are coming from, how much, why are you bringing so much money for an exchange. So we must also start monitoring our own to actually see that we actually work it out and bring the value to its variable level.
Okay, thank you so Mr. Elias for that, talking about production, and also that would have a huge part of the domestic product right there. When you look at it right there, it made the importance of increasing local produce. That can also lead to increase in our GDP. That will have a in exportation and also influence influence the dollar elsewhere for exchange. But with what our main source of
Well, that's so much we can take from our Abuja network studio due to a technical glitch. Hope we can reconnect with them much later on the show. It's the TMI on the ITV network. Just talk a bit of some of the trends in the political space in the build up to 2027. I think the biggest story in 2025 to a large extent was the defection of Peter Obi from Labour Party to ADC. Even though we knew for a long time his body was in Labour Party, well, his spirit was in ADC. He just formalized that, you know, on the last day. That was on December 31st, as it were. And we've seen the reactions coming. And by the way, Joy Obai Shagmo just joined this conversation. Joy, it's good to have you on the show. Happy New Year.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing today?
Very well,
you look so lush.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. All right. So, ladies, let's quickly look at this trend. I'm also concerned with the fact that Obedience are saying for their own candidate, Peter Obi, is the presidency or nothing. In an ADC where you have the likes of Atiku Abubakar, you have Rotimi Amechi, you have Malam Nasser El-Rufai, and then now Obi is there. What do you make of all of it? Let me start with Joy.
Peter Obi joining the ADC, it's a very good one. It's a welcome development. You know, he has been Nigerians, you know, I wouldn't want to say favorite when it comes to, you know, loyalty to the people and also, you know, especially the youth.
Yeah.
And so it's a welcome development, and I think that him being in the ADC, his followers should just blend in and see how, you know, it works out, especially for, you know, Peter Obi as a person.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, I just feel like these are some of the theatrics that characterize the upcoming elections and just elections in Nigeria as per, you know, as going on. First off, seeing Peter Obi now join the ADC officially, of which we've already heard talks about it in the past, and now having him officially join the ADC is a welcome development, but you know, as we know, there's a lot of this and that and just, you know, spirals that characterize this, being that they also have Atiku there. They have the likes of Kwankwan. So who is going to bail the cat is the big question. Who is going to get the ticket? Yeah. You know, a lot of people, like Joy just said, have pulled their weight behind Peter Obi per time and just over time supporting him, especially the youth. We just saw in the last elections, which Tinubu was the winner, President Tinubu was the winner, how much volume of people pulled their weight behind the presidential candidate of the Labour Party at that time, Peter Obi, and how Labour Party now became a publicized party even because of Peter Obi. I just believe that Peter Obi was the spearhead behind the Labour Party. And now seeing him join the ADC, and having to maybe even compete with the likes of Kwankwaso and also Atiku for the presidential ticket of the ADC in the upcoming elections. It's just something that is beyond us, but like we hope to see what happens per time.
I think the challenge for that development in the ADC is that it's going to raise the bar of competition amongst the, you know, the major actors there. I'm just hoping that the party will not focus on money politics, because at the end of the day, most times it goes to the highest bidder. And that's where there are serious concerns about the presence of the likes of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. For a lot of people, they say so many things about Abubakar Atiku.
A lot of people say
nothing has been done in terms of EFCC investigating him or him being prosecuted for corruption allegations. Many of those things, they are part of the theatrics that you talked about politically that we see around. Yeah.
And there's also talk about Atiku, how in recurrent times he's come out for, you know, contesting for the
serial contestant.
Yes,
yeah.
And at some point, a lot of people are saying, why not take a break? Why not just be an advisor? Why not just be behind the scenes at this point?
And play the role of an elder statesman.
Yes, if truly you want to serve the people, like you say, why does it have to be in the capacity of the president, which in so many different times you failed to achieve in the past?
Yeah.
You know, and they are valid in some way. And you're also saying there's a probe, a pending probe. People are asking for a pending probe. It's just something that we should
Okay, now there's also a dimension to you. You want to add something to that?
You mentioned something on Peter Obi. Peter Obi joined the ADC, right? So, and then you mentioned something like, you know, the likes of Kwankwaso and the others being in the scene is going to be a very, very tough, you know, election for the primaries, actually. But looking at Peter Obi, I think Peter Obi already portrayed that character of, you know, he is the man of the people.
Okay.
We all like him, the youth like him, of course. And I don't think that he is going to come out to, you know, play that kind of politics with them.
Yeah.
I think, you know, like he said, he's just like an ambassador right now. You know, him joining the
ADC,
the Labour Party, he actually made the party known.
Yeah, he brought the party to limelight. Yes.
And now he is in the ADC. I think he's still going to bring that. He's going to give them that kind of limelight, and also him giving them that kind of limelight, the people are just going to embrace him, because a lot of persons are saying that wherever Peter Obi is, we are there.
Yeah, yeah, and that's very, very key in the build up to 2027. But I think right now, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, who is being the main man for the NNPP, really hasn't moved to the ADC. He is still, you know, contemplating moving to the ADC. So, but those big names that we have in the ADC now, you have Atiku there, you have Rotimi Amici there, you have Nasser El-Rufai there, and then now we have Peter Obi there. But I think Kwankwaso's challenge is he too wants to go for the presidency. But today I just saw a statement from him saying, look, well, presidency or vice presidency, I'm cool. Okay. In the 2023 election, it was part of the reason why Obi and Kwankwaso didn't merge or work together, because Kwankwaso insisted on being the presidential candidate. He wasn't ready to step down. Or we probably would have seen an Obi presidency and a Kwankwaso vice presidency. And that for me would have rocked, because when you look at their age, you look at their experience, and look at their values and all of that, but it didn't work out. I'm sure he's probably, you know, doing a retrace of his steps now to say, look, if I can't
He's done a reevaluation.
Let me settle for this.
If I can't get this, at least let me go for this. But that will be predicated on the fact that is the ADC willing to give Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso the vice presidential ticket? Only time will tell. And for Atiku, the concern is that this is Atiku's last chance of having a go at the presidency.
Why do you say it's
because for a man who is over 80.
True.
Yeah, so this is his last chance.
But the man should take the back seat already.
Right, I feel like everybody, especially these politicians, we should all weigh our conscience. If you're coming as a public office, you come with the people in mind. You come to serve and not to, you know, just be in that office or
for the sake of it,
or just for, you know, it's your turn. You come for the people. I believe that at this point, these politicians should begin to weigh their conscience and do what is best, not just for themselves or for their portfolio, but for the people.
Because obviously at this point it seems as though Atiku is just, you know, having to enter this game because of, you know, his own interest. It doesn't seem as though he's doing it for the people, especially us, the youth, who are here. This is the future. So looking at Peter Obi is just our potential right now.
Okay, so Peter Obi has a big fan here. Maybe they can look out for you and see how you can do some consultation for them. Anyways, it's still TMI on the ITV network. We'll take a short break. When we return, Patricia Gabriels is on standby from our Lagos Network studio. Please stay with us.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program, Healthy Living. What is the kidney?
The kidney is an excretory organ in the body, which is for metabolism.
Tuberculosis affects many organs in the body, but the common ones it usually affects is the lungs.
Epilepsy is a neurological problem.
Okay.
It is an injury in the brain, which causes someone to begin to convulse, to go into fits.
It is curable, but the cure is a long-term thing.
If you eat well and avoid those risk factors that will make your immunity to be down, then the risk of contracting tuberculosis will be reduced.
If you're healthy, then you're wealthy.
ITV, certainly the best.
Omonoba Nedu Ukwakolopolo Ewai II, Oba of Benin, stepped out majestically with
Good morning and thank you for joining us on the continuation of from our Lagos studio. I am Piles. We'll be glad to law. This reform was signed into law in June 2025 by President Tinubu, and it's to take effect from the 1st of January 2026. But before I go into details, I'm going to introduce our guest who is going to be married.
We women, we have to be really intentional about our parenting.
If you know a child is being abused, or you see signs, a bruise or a child, it has to be investigated.
People barely even breathe when they are going for a shebi and something. You have to be
they
smart. If you see where they are dressing them or dragging on both sides, you cannot breathe. And these women would stay in those events for hours just to keep up with that beauty trend.
Is that healthy?
That's not healthy.
I am Patricia Uremu Gabriels, and we're reaching you live from our Lagos Network studio. Of course, Women in Conversation is a program designed for women to discuss about themselves. How does it operate?
Okay. Thanks for having me here in the studio again. And happy New Year to all Nigerians. I found that should be done, and the government has not done well enough. Got to, that has to be put out there. The government has not done well enough. If you are doing something that affects the very, very core of the existence of your citizens, you have to be extremely intentional about ensuring that there is no ambiguity and clarity is assured with what it means for them. That hasn't happened. The National Orientation Agency, working in concert with the Taiwo Idele Committee and the Nigeria Revenue Service, should have done a very well detailed job of explaining it with clarity in as simple language as possible what these things mean to the ordinary man on the street, because they're the ones that are talking. There have been efforts, obviously, there is a campaign from the committee of Mr. Idele, there's a use of some social media influencers, and all that, but all those things are not enough. A lot of people are not on social media. There is millions and millions of Nigerians that this may or may not affect, who don't even have TV sets or radios. What are we as a country doing to make sure that those people are reassured, what the issues are with this law? Then on the part of Nigerians, especially people with a voice, media outlets, whether electronic or print, society leaders, thought leaders in the country who go on different platforms to speak about these things. A lot of people for political reasons are whipping up falsehood, to achieve whatever political points they want to score. And for that, for me, that's very disturbing. For example, the issues that you raised. There is no way in the tax act where there is any kind of indication people's activity. 50 it's actually ridiculous, that thought. And this is what I say. So now I won't blame the average person on the street who believes that I'm scared. The final is to fiduciary you as a bank and your customers. The only person that can access information about, I'm not talking of money, information about your account and your accounting transactions is you or the bank. And the bank must give permission, must get permission from you to do so
to access.
If you want to give it to a third party, unless there is a court order saying otherwise, or in this case, there is a law that says, certain parts of that can be ceded to government information. But when it comes to your money, nobody can take your money from your account without you signing something, either electronically or physically. Of course, there are exceptions to that. So if we're talking of big transactions now, for example, let's say you are owing a bank. You owe a bank 50 million naira or 100 million naira or 200 million naira, and you have refused to pay for years. The bank can go to court and get a court judgment, a court order that your account should be frozen, or they can even get a garnishi, where they can now move in and take your assets. They can pick up your vehicle, whatever they can find, your bank accounts that they have access to, and then they take those monies. A very specific situation. So for the average man on the street who has struggled 50,000 naira, 100,000 in his account, nobody can touch your account. No dime will be removed under the Tax Act.
If I understand,
from your account.
You're saying they are not going to be taxed.
Nobody is touching. No. I'm talking about people's, because that's a fear that people are talking about now, that nobody can take money from your account without your permission. People can take that to the bank. Your money, so there's no need to be rushing to the bank and say, hey, tax law has started, though, I want to withdraw my money. There's nothing like that. Leave that one. The only thing that has also coincided with the commencement of the Tax Act is the Stamp Duties Act, which, by the way, is not new. It's been Stamp Duties Act for more than 30 years. That law was first enacted in 1970-something, more than 50 years, right? And then it has evolved with different tax reforms. Buhari signed Finance Act about 3 or 4 times. And that tax duty changed nomenclature. But the figure has also been 59 for receipts. If you receive money, 50 naira, then they take, if you receive more than 10,000, they take 50 naira from your account, right? Direct debit by the bank. Then it evolved and it became whether you are receiving or you are sending, they will take 50 naira from both parties. Okay? That's a tax that has existed before, has nothing to do with this particular tax reform.
But why is it coming up afresh? That's the fear.
Very interesting question, and to be honest, I don't have an answer to that. Up until 3 years ago, it changed from Stamp Duties Act to Electronic Money Transfer Levy.
Yes.
EMT.
Charges. Yes.
So, but it was still the same 50. If you are changing the name, so now they've changed the name back to Stamp Duty. How does that one affect anybody?
No, because the layman on the street does not understand.
They don't understand that.
Yes.
So that 15 has existed before, and there's nothing anybody can do about that. It's the stamp duty. So we move on. It's 15 naira. It's significant if your money is not much, you know, but it's the law. There's nothing we can do. Okay, so let's lay that to rest. That's the only kind of money that can be taken from your account directly as you are receiving money by the bank. So the bank takes the money, and it is stamp duty. It has nothing to do with this tax act. Now, coming to this tax reform now, there are four, just to explain the basics.
Okay.
The average person that may not understand. The tax reform is built on four different laws that work together. There is the Nigeria Tax Act that describes the taxes that will be charged to Nigerians, you know, and how, you know, the people that those taxes will be applied to. There's the Nigeria Tax Administration Act about the process. How will it happen? How will the taxman take the money, you know, and so on and so forth? How will they determine how much you have made? You know, so that's contained. And then there is the Nigeria Revenue Service. So the what we used to call the IRS, the FIRS, Federal Inland Revenue Service. They changed name to Nigeria Revenue Service to make it more all-inclusive, to make it clear that this is not just a federal thing. It is for Nigeria, you know. So, and then there's the Joint Tax Board Establishment Act, which now provides a collective body that coordinates taxes at the local government level, at the state level, at the federal level, and any other tax that is being administered in Nigeria, of that, to ensure that multiple taxation doesn't happen. So that's what that is about, and those are the laws that constitute the Nigeria Tax Acts that are now being implemented. Some of them have taken effect since last year. The Nigeria Revenue Service didn't take effect in January. They've become Nigeria Revenue Service since a few months back. Okay, so that's the legislative framework. And we can talk about the details of who gets taxed and all of that. If you want me to continue, should I just go on?
Yes. Honestly, Nigerians really, really want this to be clarified, to be break down for the layman to understand. You have just said all this, and I'm sure they're still sitting out there not understanding what you have said. Their concern is, are they going to be taxed? Okay. Is money is going to be debited from their accounts? Right. Who is to be taxed?
So, one of the things that I particularly like about this law is that it's very smart. Mr. Idele, a lot of people, if you don't understand what has happened, you know, then you just say, oh, they're going to be taxing us. First of all, in this country, we had laws that existed up until January 1 that required, even if you are earning 50,000 naira, 40,000 naira salary, required you to pay as you earn, your personal income tax, right? But most people, because of the informality of the Nigerian economy, because of the fact that a lot of people are not captured by the system, you know, no identification, nobody knows that company, so they're collecting their salaries and they're not paying taxes. A lot of Nigerians don't pay taxes. The majority, in fact, the majority of Nigerians don't pay taxes, right? Now, the Oyedele committee recognized that. They know that the average person, if you are collecting 50,000 per month, 60,000 per month, maybe even 100,000 per month, you are not really paying any taxes to anybody, even though you are supposed to. So what they've done is that they have now created a threshold to say, you know what, all of you people that were collecting this money and were not paying taxes before, okay, now don't pay the tax, but it is now official. The government recognizes that you exist, but we don't want to tax you because your salary is not much. So that's why there is a band. So the way tax works all over the world is that there are income brackets, income bands that you apply different tax rates to. The higher your income, the higher the taxes you pay. So what they've done is that prior to now, there was no zero tax rate bracket. They have now created a bracket where they say, if you are earning less than 800,000 naira per annum, taxable. If your taxable income is less than, and I will explain what I mean by that, is less than 800,000 per annum, you are not required to pay tax. Your tax rate is 0% officially. Okay. Right? If you divide that by 12, it works out to about 60-something thousand naira per month. Right? taxable with low minimum wage. So if you are earning minimum wage or below, you will not be paying any taxes. Officially, government knows that you exist, but they are not taking tax from you. So anybody that is listening to this and your salary is less than 70,000 naira, you are not going to be required to pay tax. And that huge percentage of Nigeria's workforce. Okay, that's on the some people. Now, once your salary goes above that 800,000 per annum, then tax rates begin to apply as year increases. And it's also, even if you are earning, let's say, 2 million per annum, a lot of people fall in that category as well. People that are earning, you know,
100,000 monthly,
per
yes,
month.
yeah.
Once you multiply that by 12, you are working up
Close to 2 million, yes.
Right? You are not going to pay a dime of tax on the first 800 of your 2 million. So you will only be paying tax on 1.2 million that is above the 800,000. So that itself is a relief. Now, those people, this is very interesting. People that are in the income bracket of around 2 million, 2.5, 3 million per annum. In other words, even for you, if you are on 200,000 naira per month, that works out to about 2.4 million, right, per annum. 250,000 naira per month, you are talking of 3 million per annum. There is a significant saving that this law provides to you. So for the people in that bracket, they actually will be paying less tax, effective from the end of this month. You know, tax, even though they are not paying the tax directly to government, their employer will be making deductions on their account.
From their salary.
From their salary. From their salary. So those deductions should come down. This is key. So if you fall in this category of something you are earning about 200K, 150K, 180K, 250K per month, maybe even up to 300K, you should feel a slight increase in your take-home pay as a result of this law.
Really?
Yes.
How?
This is key for people to understand. This is key because we've been talking about this thing as if, oh, it's a problem. Nigeria, they want to tax us.
You know, because why Nigerians are that scared is because a whole lot of words are coming out from prominent people in Nigeria. We had the airpeace man Oyema who said that with this tax reform, that air flights, local flight tickets could skyrocket to about 1 million. And then also we had who's party social media about it.
It's very sad. You know, these are, in my opinion, either because of ignorance or just right mischief. You know, these are irresponsible statements from these people. It's not true. The government is doing the exact opposite. And for records purposes, anybody that knows me knows that I'm not a government apologist. Anybody that knows me, that knows my work in the public space, I speak in the public a lot. I am one of the most critical voices against the way governance runs in this country, right? So I'm saying the law does the exact opposite. They're not poverty. They are exempting poverty from taxation by this law. Please, let's get it right. There is not everything that is politics.
So where is all this coming from?
Please stop this narrative of you don't tax poverty. The government is not taxing poverty. They're actually exempting poverty from taxation, right? So if you think about it, first, if you
Some days, there comes the Ugemobo Festival, which the Oba celebrates outside the palace gate. A pavilion is built of red cloth where rites are performed to drive away all evil spirits still unsatisfied by the year's sacrifices. The Emobo Festival is to commemorate an event in Benin history which dates back to 1504 AD.
Yari yari, Ọba Tope. Yari yari, Ọba
The Oba of Benin added a colorful mood to the year's celebration as he walks round the city center amidst cheers.
The new Edion expressed excitement as he danced and rejoiced before the Esama of Benin, Sir Chief Dr. Gabriel Osawari Benedion, who also joined in the dance. As visiting and paying of homage to various homes of senior elders continued, the initiates spent 7 days performing diverse kinds of rites as required by tradition. They were furnished with rules and regulations regarding their new office as Edion.
That I grew up in this community to the point that they have now also chosen me as an elder in this community. It's a thing of great joy. All thanks to the Esama of Benin, my people, my family, everybody, all Okada community for this great honor. I am very, very grateful.
Well, this is my brother. I'll call him my uncle because he grew up with my father. I'm so proud of him because we are doing the same rituals as the Edions of the Okada. It is our duty for us to make this place a greater place, for outsiders to come and see the goodness of God in Okada. And I'm proud of every one of us here. So shall it be to each and every one of us in Jesus' name.
Odion ma Okada zima Esama zima dio Bona zima dio Obala zima dio Marawe Mari Esama dio na mi mado pon Esama mi mado gbeken Esama e ma dio wa na Esama ma gbeken ne osabo obuyo biton ne ba no get toni maga no dia mi maga ma ni do gbeken ne.
Good morning and welcome to ITV News Update. I am Chukufum Nanya Digwe. Now, Vice President Kashim Shettima has declared that no investment in education is ever a gamble, describing the sector as a deliberate and enduring commitment to securing Nigeria's future. As State House correspondent Ikaro Atta reports, the Vice President made the assertion at the weekend during the combined convocation ceremonies of Kashim Ibrahim University in Borno State.
Speaking at the event, Vice President Kashim Shettima says education remains the most powerful tool for development, economic empowerment, and social liberation. In his words, no investment in education is ever a gamble.
They choose resilience over resignation. They choose learning over loss. They choose to rebuild minds even as they rebuild communities. To the graduating students before me today, you are the first fruits of this promising institution. History has placed a special burden on your shoulders, the burden of ambassadorial responsibility. Wherever life takes you, you carry the name and values of Kashim Ibrahim University. You cannot afford ethical shortcuts or moral compromises. You must stand as examples of integrity, competence, and service. Let your conduct bring pride to your alma mater, honor to your families, and dignity to yourselves.
The Vice President urged the graduates to see themselves as ambassadors of integrity, service, and excellence, noting that their conduct will shape the reputation of the institution. Reflecting on Borno State experience, Senator Shettima noted that the state understands the cost of neglecting education, having endured years of disruption caused by the Boko Haram insurgency. In a symbolic gesture of support, the Vice President announced the donation of 2 electric vehicles to enhance the university's shuttle services. Earlier, Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum announced automatic employment for the 81 best graduating students of the university alongside immediate postgraduate scholarship within and outside the country. The newly installed Chancellor, the Ooni of Ife, Oba Adeyeye Enitan Ogunwusi II, pledged to work for the accelerated growth of the institution. Highlight of the convocation include the installation of the Ooni of Ife as Chancellor and the conferment of Honorary Doctor of Letters degree on him and Alhaji Muhammadu Ndimi. Ikaro Atta, ITV News.
In another report, Nigeria's Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Idi Abbas, has assured that the Nigerian Navy will deny terrorists and other criminal elements access to the Lake Chad waterways. Admiral Abbas says the Navy remains committed to restoring socio-economic activities in the region after over a decade of insurgency that disrupted livelihoods in affected communities. The naval chief gave the assurance during his first operational tour of Borno State. The report is presented by Comfort Idoko.
This is the first operational visit of the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Idi Abbas, to Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. Speaking to journalists after the meeting, Vice Admiral Abbas said the visit was aimed at assessing ongoing operations and identifying areas that require support to sustain gains recorded against Boko Haram and ISWAP terrorists in the northeast. He assured that the Nigerian Navy will deny terrorists access to the Lake Chad waterways.
Of that general area. So by our presence there, we are able to also make the waterways safe, and we have been able to do that. Right now, I think we have dredged about 11 kilometers off the Lake Chad basin. So thereby improving the livelihood of the fishermen that use that general area, and the more catches they have, the better for
the naval chief later embarked on an aerial operational tour to the naval base in the Lake Chad region, where he inspected and assessed the waterways. He also addressed frontline troops and later shared a meal with them. Vice Admiral Idi Abbas expressed satisfaction with troops' counter-insurgency efforts and operational strategies, commending their resilience and sacrifice.
When I heard that drones come around at night, so personally I have not been sleeping, but having come here today and seen you people, I believe if I go back I will sleep, because I don't.
The naval chief also paid a courtesy visit to the Borno State Government House, where he met with Governor Babagana Zulum.
We believe it should not stop there, because the UN 2017 security resolution has clearly stated that military operations are to be followed by stabilization mechanisms.
It is hoped that the visit will further strengthen naval operations and enhance security across the Lake Chad region. From Abuja, Comfort Idoko, ITV News.
Now here in Edo State, the governor of the state, Senator Monday Okpebholo, has threatened to revoke the contract for the construction of the Catholic Charismatic Renewal Road in Ubuyoko for the contractor if he fails to accelerate the pace of work. Governor Okpebholo issued the warning during an inspection tour of the Benin-Sapele Road axis. He, however, commended the contractors handling the Sapele Road and Ogege sections of the road for the quality of work on the roads and drainage systems. Government House correspondent Kingsley Uchegbu reports.
It was a moment of excitement and appreciation as residents of Catholic Charismatic Renewal Road in Ubuyoko off Ekenwa Road welcomed Governor Okpebholo and his entourage during a routine inspection of the 1.4-kilometer road stretch and ongoing erosion control measures. Residents, many of whom had been displaced by flooding for several years, are gradually returning to their homes following the intervention of the state government.
For years we don't suffer this road. We pray, may God empower Monday Okpebholo, make he help us as he don't do at the go.
I have not gained from any government. This is my first time. We heard of Okpebholo. He's trying to exceed Okpebholo.
The governor expressed dissatisfaction with the slow pace of work on the project and warned that the contract would be revoked if improvements are not made. In response, the contractor assured the governor of adherence to the agreed project delivery timeline.
We are done with 90-95% of the drainage and the concrete work. Visit on the 15th of this month. We'll be locking up with stone base.
Governor Okpebholo further inspected surface and underground drains designed to tackle flooding in Ewuku and adjoining communities of Benin-Sapele Road, as well as surface drains at Kilometer 12 Old Benin-Sapele Road or Obi in the Boboka local government area. The inspection tour was rounded off at the completed sections of Orege off Sapele Road, constructed with a concrete pavement design. The governor, who trekked several kilometers along the Benin-Sapele Road to personally assess the quality of work, commended the contractor for a job well done so far.
We were at Church Road. We are not too happy with the contractor there. By the time we get there again and nothing is happening the way we want it, we can revoke that job. I'm very happy with Brass. They are doing a very good job. I'm also very much impressed with the contractor CBC handling this Sapele Road. So we continue to monitor and see how things are going on this road.
Kingsley Ochebu, ITV News.
In another report, the Bayelsa State Police Command has welcomed a new Commissioner of Police, CP Daniel Iyama, who takes over from Francis Idu following his promotion to Assistant Inspector General of Police. CP Iyama Daniel, shortly after resumption, assured that there will be no room for criminality in Bayelsa State. Jolade Ojo reports.
Assuming duties as the new Bayelsa State Police Commissioner, Daniel Iyama was received at the State Police Headquarters in Yenugua by senior officers of the command. He noted that Bayelsa's vast waterways, oil and gas installations, and vibrant youth population required policing strategies that are adaptive, inclusive, and responsive to both conventional and emerging security challenges. CP Iyama, who previously served in Bayelsa as Deputy Commissioner in the State Criminal Investigation Department and as Deputy Commissioner of Police, said he was aware of existing security issues and would improve the current security architecture.
To advise the criminals in Bayelsa State to repent, relocate, otherwise Bayelsa is not a place for them to be abandoning. The command will take a decisive action against any form of crime and criminality. Thank you, and God bless.
CP Iyama later decorated newly promoted personnel at Command Officers Mess, where he emphasized that the command had adopted a zero-tolerance approach to all forms of violence and organized crimes, including kidnapping, armed robbery, sea piracy, illegal possession of firearms, and all other forms of criminalities in the state. From the police headquarters in Yenugua, Jolade Ojo, ITV News.
Now, many people begin the new year with high hopes and carefully written resolutions. However, studies have shown that a significant number abandon these goals just days into the year. As the struggle to remain committed continues, some clergymen in Benin City have offered spiritual and practical advice on how individuals can stay focused and disciplined in keeping their New Year resolutions. Donald Damie reports.
As the new year unfolds, optimism fills the air with many individuals setting personal goals ranging from spiritual growth to healthier living and financial discipline. Experience, however, has shown that enthusiasm often fades quickly, leading many to abandon their resolutions barely days into the new year. Some clergymen across different Christian denominations in Benin City say the real challenge lies not in making resolutions, but in sustaining the discipline required to fulfill them. They advise individuals to commit their plans to God through prayer, noting that spiritual support provides strength, direction, and consistency.
Make a resolution in the will of God and stay in the will of God, walk in the will of God, live in the will of God. That is when you can overcome Satan.
They are failing because they are falling short of the glory of God. They have not abided by the tenets of Christianity. Many come to church for miracles. They are really devoted to the words of God. What you preach in the altar is different from what they practice. So definitely they cannot meet up with their resolution.
It's always a good thing to make resolution. Well, what is even better is to make resolutions and have faith with them. Take a resolution and abide with them. And I think that one of the best resolutions for people to take at this time of the year is to be a better Christian in 2026.
According to the clerics, setting realistic and achievable goals, avoiding undue societal pressure, and taking gradual steps are key to long-term success. They also encourage accountability, urging people to share their goals with trusted mentors or faith leaders who can offer guidance and motivation. From Benin, Donald Ehiminyang, ITV News.
And that's the size of our package on ITV News Updates. I am Chukufum Nanya Digwe. Up next is TMI Socials. Stay tuned.
ITV, certainly the best.
The man went out to bring in thugs to come and beat her.
Yeah.
In a situation.
And welcome. This is TMI Socials. I am Chukufum Nanya Digwe, and here's what's making waves across the social media space. Now, we begin with another spate of insecurity in Nigeria as bandits kill over 30 in Niger State's market raid. Now, suspected bandits raided the market in Niger State's Bogu area on January 3 around 4:30 p.m., killing at least 30 people, including women, abducting others, looting valuables, and burning stores without any security response until the next morning. Police confirmed over 30 deaths and ongoing rescue efforts for the kidnapped, while eyewitnesses described more than 50 restrained and killed amid charred ruins. President Tinubu ordered top security chiefs to hunt the attackers and boost patrols as Governor Bago condemned the assaults on diverse communities amid Nigeria's banditry crisis. Now, this is something that's coming on the heels of the widely broadcasted security challenge in Nigeria. Now, let's get to hear what the social space is saying about this. Let's take reactions. This first reaction says, brutal attacks on the same Papiri community in Nigeria, where the Catholic school children were abducted in November. Eyewitnesses say terrorists allowed to run wild with no security presence. The worst mass killing of the new year so far in Nigeria. Persecution ongoing. That's from Sean Nelson. Now let's get to see another remark. This one from Omoyele Shori says, more than 30 people have been murdered in cold blood in Niger State, and there has been no word, no empathy, no leadership from Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Goes along to tag the president and says, Nigeria is effectively without a president at this moment since disappearing before New Year's Day under the excuse of vacation. Tinubu has remained silent while citizens are slaughtered, a country bleeding, and a leader missing in action. This is the tragic reality of Nigeria today. Let's see another comment. This commenter says this is heartbreaking and completely unacceptable. The massacre of innocent Nigerians, women, traders, families going about their daily lives in a market is a tragic reminder of how deep the insecurity crisis has become. A society where bandits can invade a public market, kill over 30 people, abduct others, loot freely, and set the place on fire without immediate consequences is a society failing in its most basic duty, protecting lives. This is not just another attack, It is a national emergency. Let's see another comment now. This commenter says, when terrorists reportedly overrun the same community, adopt school children, return to massacre civilians, and still face zero security resistance, that's no longer insecurity. That is state failure. A country where killers operate freely, communities are abandoned, and citizens rely on luck to survive, has lost the most basic duty of government, protection of life. This is not a warning sign anymore. It is the evidence. Nigeria is a failed state. Let's take the final comments now on this particular story. This one says, the village that buries its people daily while the chief counts his gold will soon have no one left to rule. 30 killed in broad daylight at a market. Bandits operate freely, kill, kidnap, burn, and leave. Government silent as always. Nigerian lives are disposable until election season. Security has collapsed, leadership has failed, and citizens are left defenseless. This is governance failure, not misfortune. Now, those are the hot takes as regards the insecurity situation in Niger State, where over 30 people were killed. Now, let's move on to the next story. In this one, it's actually on the international scene. The Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, has been captured by U.S. forces in an operation called Operation Absolute Resolve. More than 150 U.S. troops go into the country and get the president over allegations of narco-terrorism and the likes of others. Yes, it's a trending issue, and the social media space is definitely reacting. Let's see some videos that correlate, and then we'll talk some more and take reactions. Now, what you just saw is Operation Absolute Resolve by 150 plus American troops, where they went into the country after some strikes to get the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro. Now, there's been a spate of celebration in the country after this capture. Let's see the video before we go along to take reactions. There you have it, a celebratory video of the Venezuelan people following the capture and indictment of their president, Nicolas Maduro, by the U.S. government. Now let's see how the social media space is taking this. Let's take reactions. The first reaction goes on to say, President Trump announced that the U.S. has captured Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro following a series of airstrikes, and that the Venezuelan president is in U.S. custody outside of the country. This dramatic start to 2026 has implications for multiple regimes and terror groups worldwide. Let's see another comment now. The next commenter says, the liberals are already crying about the communist dictator being captured. Americans died at the hands of Nicolas Maduro and his drugs. Every American and Venezuelan should be happy. This is over. Let's take the final comment before we move on. The next comment says, the capture and transfer of Nicolas Maduro to face federal charges in New York underscores the critical need to enforce accountability for narco-terrorism and state-sponsored criminal enterprises. The Southern District of New York indictment unsealed today details Maduro's alleged weaponization of Venezuela's institutions to flood U.S. cities with cocaine, directly fueling the fentanyl crisis that's devastated American communities. Now, those are the comments as regards the capture of the Venezuelan president and also his indictment in New York, the United States. Now, to wrap it up, we'll take our final story, which happens to be the official defection of the Labour Party presidential aspirant of 2023, that is Peter Obi, into the ADC. And guess what? Atiku did welcome him. Atiku did welcome him, and I quote him as saying, "Today marks a significant moment in the history of political coalitions in our country, with the official declaration of my brother and associates Peter Obi into the African Democratic Congress, ADC. It is my pleasure to welcome him officially as we look forward to a robust working relationship that will foster a virile opposition, one that will ultimately form a government capable of bringing prosperity and peace to our people. And as the ADC coalition train leaves Enugu, the capital of Southeast region, I hope this inspires other patriots to join the cause with the train headed in their direction." Yes, this particular quote is actually the statement of Atiku Abubakar as he welcomes the Labour Party 2023 aspirant Peter Obi into the ADC. Now let's take reactions. Let's see how the social media space is actually taking this. The first reaction says, Atiku and his boy have now reunited. We know the plot. Obi will run the primaries and lose to Atiku. Then Atiku will offer him VP ticket. Then all his online rally platforms will go with the agenda that Atiku will run only one term and then hand over to Obi, and everyone will support Atiku Obi ticket 2027 will be interesting. Let's see the next comment. The next netizen says, it will be extremely difficult to defeat the sitting president, a renowned politician with a grassroots following of kingmakers. I'm curious to know how the ADC people will convince the nation to vote for them, aside using the difficulties in the economy, which is widely affecting the world. Let's take the final comments now before we wrap it up. Well, the final comment says, this man will be left stranded after ADC primary, and he and Obedience will have no other options than to join Atiku as vice presidential candidates. Definitely, he can't defeat Atiku for the ADC primary ticket. Impossible. ADC will only use Mr. Obi to gain more popularity and gather public sympathy. I will repost this comment after ADC primary next year. Make Obi look for another small party and start building. Earlier the better. Atiku know they use primary and tickets play with person. And after primary, it's just few months to election and to form another party, go hard Obi. Well, those are the comments as regards the defection of Peter Obi and actually his joining the ADC and also being welcomed by Atiku Abubakar. And here's where we draw the curtain on TMI socials today. From the whole TMI crew across all our network centers, I say thank you so much to our viewership for staying tuned in. Thank you so much also to our insightful guests. I am Chukufum Nanya Digwe. Do have yourself a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
wait any longer.